Hello, and welcome to the Common Geeking Program. We are a book club style podcast where each episode we will discuss a different topic from our own geeky and nerdy perspectives. I'm your host, your forever host, your host now until the end of time, Jeff Leavitt. Yeah, that's right. We've made some fucking changes, and now I run the show.
Who allowed you to be host forever?
I kicked off all the other hosts, but allowed some of them to come back as representatives. And by some of them, I mean really all of them, but no more hosts. More hosts.
Colin was beheaded by Jeff. It was gruesome.
Yeah, we put his head into a vat, and now that vat exclusively runs the Common Briefing Program podcast.
Gross.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm your host, Jeff Leavitt, and this week we're going to be talking about the Steven Universe movie. So that'll be a good time. And don't worry, we'll give a little explanation of the rest of the series in a brief fashion, just so if you are not in the know, you can still have some entertainment here. But this time around, I'm going to be joined by two fellow nerds who can introduce their goddamn selves. So yeah, go for it.
Hi, I'm Taeemul Chowdhury, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. I exist.
He exists. Can confirm.
Well, I mean, you don't, but...
There's only two of you, so...
I know I'm next. I was just, really like how to kind of get to the point that he actually doesn't exist. Hi, I'm Keenan, Sophilus believer, and the only real person here.
Right. I see. Keenan is, in fact, a brain in a vat as well.
No, I'm not a brain in a vat. I'm just someplace. None of you exist. You're all hallucinations, okay?
I see. Okay. So, yeah, as I previously mentioned, we've made a few changes here in the program. I'll run through them a little bit quick, because, really this is meant to be a new jumping on point for new fans, so I don't want to dwell in the past too much, but the main thing is we've gotten rid of domains formally. We're still going to be comparing this topic to other things, but do it in a bit more natural fashion instead of breaking from the action to kind of talk about different things, because that's just a lot of content for one episode, and we like to have better discussions about particular things instead. We're not doing gold stars anymore, so we're all friends, happy pals now, instead of it being a cutthroat competition. And we've kind of merged the discussion and the intro, or the discussion and the summary section, to just kind of make it more smooth jazz rather than chopped up music that is in particular sections. That's where that analogy went.
You are a musical master. Your
yes, I know so much about music. But, I don't want to bore you with the minutia. Let's just fucking get goddamn into it. Yeah, the swears are still here, and they're not going fucking anywhere.
Until, Will Hayes comes through.
So we're going to start by summarizing and discussing the topic, and then we're still going to end with a rating section, just like old times, but this time we're just going to talk about whether or not we like the thing, not rating each other, because we're all friends here.
Ooh, -5 points. First, real quick, let's just kind of round out a summary of Steven Universe. For those of you who don't know, it's a TV show that premiered on Cartoon Network a couple of years ago, I think 2013. It's basically about Steven Universe, who is a small child who lives with the Crystal Gems, who are these magical and later revealed to be alien people named Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. They all have gem themes, and he lives in the city of Beach City, which is a fictional city. It's just all about his adventures trying to protect the world from other gems who are evil and from gem monsters who are around. A lot of the themes focus on family, love, how to be in healthy relationships, space stuff, which is a theme.
Yeah.
And music. There's lots of musicals and stuff in it.
Yeah, it's a very musical show. It started off kind of just a happy-go-lucky Cartoon Network show, and then pretty quickly evolved into
mature.
A well-loved series by older fans because of its sort of deep stereotyping? Storytelling was the word I was trying to purge out of my mouth right there, but
Yeah, it has really good world building, narrative. It also examines a lot of like healthy LGBT gay stuff. You know, the gay. There's some gay sprinkled in there, and it's pretty good. In like a good way.
But
That's
it
not
is
like,
very
you know.
LGBT positive.
Right.
I would not describe it as gay stuff.
Well, that's queer positive. How about that? You know, it's vague, but hey, you kind of get what you're doing. It was made by Rebecca Stricker, for those of you who don't know, who also worked on Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And
that's like when Adventure Time got pretty good, is when she started writing the songs for it, I think.
Yeah, and then Steven himself is half gem, because his mother was Rose Quartz, and then who, you know, kind of gave up her physical form to be him, because she fell in love with Greg Universe, a regular musician who's great, who's dad of the year, really. And so throughout the series, he's, you know, fighting, you know, gem monsters, and it gradually moves to like the homeworld gems, which are like these kind of conquering race of gems.
The Diamond Authority.
Yeah, the Diamond Authority, led by 3 diamonds, which are white diamond, yellow diamond, blue diamond. That is later revealed. Spoilers, of course, as always, that his mother, Rose Quartz, was actually Pink Diamond, the 4th leader of the Diamond
I feel
Authority.
like if we're gonna have spoilers, we should do it more than a few seconds before. More than 2 seconds before.
All right. Well, we always add. I thought we add a spoiler before. Don't we always add that? Like, hey, spoilers?
There's like a sound cue for it.
Yeah. But anyway, this movie is set after he's kind of like dealt with a lot of the homeworld stuff and like how peace, quote unquote, has been established throughout the universe.
Right. So the whole sort of running force for the show is that Steven's real true power is his ability to kind of make love, not war, not literally because he's a child, but you know
he's the inheritor of Taka no Jutsu from Naruto.
Yeah,
so we don't need to fight.
All of his sort of enemies, he kind of sees things from their perspective, and then it gets on their side, and then turns them over to the right side. And even with the crazy,
his ability to empathize is greatest feat, I think. So
right.
It's not the magical shield that has spikes in it.
Nope.
Which I would argue is his greatest feat, but that's just me.
So the series takes place around the span of either a year and a half or 2 years. We start off the series, he's 13. He
definitely has one birthday.
He has at least he's just got one birthday.
That's at least.
So he's 14 at the end of the series, and then the movie does a time skip of 2 years, and he's now 16. He's made peace with the diamonds and gotten them to abandon their colonizing ways and be just like better people overall.
And also he grew a neck.
Yeah, he grew a neck. He was a bit of a chub
now.
boy and didn't have a neck for a while, but now he's got a neck, and the Steven Crooniverse, as they're called, made a big deal of like, look, Steven has a neck now, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, now we...
I get the feeling like that was just a big in-joke amongst the crew as they were making that.
Or did we go off-model again? No, I'm just kidding. I like when they changed up their designs. Anyway, so yeah, it's set 2 years, and basically a new gem has come around. Her name is Spinel. She's like this little bowling ball and rubber hose type.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this later, but her whole character sort of identity and design, like the animators had a really fun time with her, is like she's designed basically off of like old like black and white style, I don't know what the proper term is for it, but like cartoons from Chowdhury. You know better idea of the exact time period than I do.
Early Disney era.
It's often referred to as the golden age of animation. It's a lot of like rubber hose animation that you'd see in like old Mickey Mouse shorts.
Right, like think, like Betty Boop, Popeye are kind of like around this era, that style, the old sort of Mickey Mouse cartoons, that kind of style.
Yeah, it was the first standardized style of animation.
And we can Fleischer Animations, which is what Betty Boop and Popeye were made.
Exactly. So yeah, she comes. Yeah, she's trying to like mess it up, and like that's the whole point of the movie is him like dealing with this. Not necessarily fighting her because quickly she wins, resets everybody, and just him kind of figure out what to go from now because he's so happy now, and now he's
right.
not.
Part of the things with the gems is whenever they quote unquote die, sort of like the Doctor from Doctor Who, they sort of regenerate. I mean, they're the same personality, but they like can change their appearance when they regenerate. And basically, Spinel comes in with this crazy scythe weapon that shoves them back to their first sort of form, and they've lost all of their memories. So she makes short work of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and then also slashes Steven, but because he's half human, that doesn't really work on him.
But it messes with the gem powers.
Right. And then Steven overpowers her and beats her. So the same thing happens to her. And when she regenerates, she's this like cutesy fucking Looney Tune who's like just wants to be his best friend, because all the gems have their original purposes, right? Like Pearl is supposed to be like a servile gem.
Amethyst is a warrior. Garnet is actually a fusion, because the gems can fuse and create like different personalities, which is once again a metaphor for a relationship.
Becomes Ruby and Sapphire. Ruby's like a bodyguard. Sapphire is like a seer.
Yeah,
like she's a prophesizer. She sees the future.
Yeah,
it's very somber.
What I said, seer, S-E-E-R, seer.
Yeah, no, that's what I said,
so
but that's on a colloquial term.
Sapphire works at Sears, and that's her main goal, is just to sell, furniture and goods
to sell
to
lawnmowers to people.
Sapphire has a purpose. She can tell you what it's for. Okay, which is a quote from a song. But yeah, that's kind of like just that kind of goes into like the whole thing that he was fighting against. In the homeworld is very like it's a hard caste system. Everyone has a purpose, and if you don't fit that purpose, you're off color, as they're referred to, which are like lesser. And so like all our gems, the crystal gems, fought against that idea that you can just kind of be what you want and who you are on the inside. Right. Like even though Pearl was written as like are usually like these servants and these maids who were like just kind of like follow you around and just an all-purpose exposition machine. She actually wanted to be a knight, a warrior, and she was very good at it.
It's all very subtle symbolism.
Yeah, Amethyst is originally designed
like a truck, honestly.
Yeah, Amethyst is supposed to be a warrior, but it turns out that like she was overcooked and like came out like wrong, so therefore she's not useful to Gem World. And that kind of like happens with a lot of them. And like Garnet is an example of how two gems, two different types.
Wait a minute! Stop the feed.
What?
Keenan.
Oh,
there's
shit.
a boy. Oh, he's gone now.
Oh no! No!
All right. So full disclosure, we're gonna cut into the action a little bit, because Chowder and I we're recording this on October 4th, 2019. I mean, I'm sure you know the year, but so this is totally irrelevant to the topic of the episode, and I meant to mention it earlier, but I forgot. But there's currently, for the new Pokemon game, a running live feed that is just like an ambient environment that's going for over 24 hours. And like apparently stuff is supposed to show up just occasionally, and one just showed up. That's the first thing that I've seen in like 2 hours.
Cool.
And we both have that feed running.
Just if anyone
the small moment where I have it minimized. Motherfucker.
I guess if I cared.
Yeah.
That would be much interesting. Unfortunately though, last I checked I'm looking at the paperwork, and no, I don't care. We'll have to share for you. Anyway, so yeah, Garnet is actually like like a frowned upon fusion of two different kinds of gems.
Right. So fusion in the show is used as kind of a metaphor for just like relationships and sometimes sex, but like it's not a hard comparison.
I would argue the sex thing is just a different reading of it, not necessarily like. I think it's just relationships in general.
It's
like
definitely just supposed to be relationships in general, not sex necessarily.
But I guess what I'm saying is there's an intimacy about it.
Yes.
Right? Which in some contexts in the use of the show is like, used as like it's compared to like a sexual thing. It's a kids show, so they don't do it overtly, but like there's episodes where like, people fuse, but there was some ulterior motive, so someone feels used by it. Like it's not an unfair comparison. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
it spans a broader.
Yeah,
a broader relationship.
Like a more focused version that they don't really do. I think they're just more about like relationships in general, but intimacy is part of any relationship. And I think
and boundaries are a part of any
focus
relationship, not even just romantic. But
sure. But yeah, no, it's very much used as it's also used to portray both negative and positive relationship. Like for example, there's an example.
Right, like the tool of fusion is used to kind of cover a variety of just like both healthy and unhealthy situations that the show can kind of talk about in the format of a kids show without like just straight out going and saying it, which is. It's kind of nice. Nice. The show does a lot of that.
Yeah, and to circle back to the movie.
Yeah.
We eventually, like I said, Spinell shows up. She resets all of them, so it's all about Steven like going through each of them, trying to get them to reset, and also find out why Spinell
is doing this.
Why she did this? Because she.
She also. I mean, the other big thing is that she planted this huge like poison injector that's going to kill all the organic life forms on the planet. Earth.
So there's a time thing.
Yeah, there's a time element to it. Yeah. He needs to sort of reset Spinell so that he can talk to her and figure out, how do we reverse this?
And why did you do this? So we can like come to a peaceful accord.
Right. Yeah, and so like he goes through the movie like one by one, getting each of the crystal gems back to how they were.
With some lovely musical numbers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful, honestly. Other Friends is great.
And then it's with Pearl, and Pearl has this wonderful little rock number that in which like Steven fuses with his dad.
Right, so Steven can also fuse with humans because he's half human, and he fuses with his father, Greg, to make this like
unbelievably
horrific
hot,
but amazing like sexual monster. And he's like so studly.
Abs for fucking days.
Yeah, that was a weird scene, but it was also pretty incredible.
But the song, I love the song, by the way.
Yeah, I like pretty much all the songs from the movie.
I love all the songs.
I mean, there were some like lyrical issues I had with some of them, and then some of them I was like, well, that's a good song, but it's just not my
favorites.
I'm going to listen to a lot.
That's fair.
As well as Change.
Like Found, I personally really, I liked, but I also didn't like, Drift Away that much because I won't listen to it a bunch.
That's fair. I liked Drift Away. Which one was Found?
That's the one where he's all about like, singing about how he'll never abandon Spinell, even though his mother's a terrible person. There's this running narrative that I personally have trouble with fans, because
maybe we should bring up how it relates to the movie first.
Yeah, so it relates to the movie because, so it turns out Spinell, and the reason why she's doing this is that she, back when Steven's mother, Rose Quartz, who led the rebellion, as I mentioned earlier, actually turns out to have been one of the Diamond Authority who kind of like faked her own death to come lead this rebellion. It turns out that before she faked her own death, back when she was still Pink Diamond, she had a playmate because she was kind of viewed as
the child,
and was given a playmate to like amuse herself with, and that was Spinell, and that's why she's so wacky, because she's perfectly built for children to, entertain them, playing hide and go seek and all sorts of games, And then when it came time for Pink Diamond to actually run a colony, which would turn out to be the Earth colony, which would then turn out to be like the one that she, faked her own death for. She apparently was just like, hey, let's play, hide and seek. You stay here, I'll go hide. I'll let you know when to seek.
Yeah.
And never...
And then Spinell stood there for
6,000
thousands of years. Yeah,
6,000
years.
Yeah,
and then she saw the transmission.
I nearly cried during Spinell's song there, and like just learning about her backstory. Spinell is my child. I will protect her with my life. Okay.
I disagree with it a lot.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this, but like the thing that kind of jolts her out of this is at the beginning of the movie, Steven sends out a message to all the gems. He's now age 16. He's like, hey, homeworld is chill now. I was Pink Diamond, but not anymore. Now I'm Steven, and I'm going to go live on Earth. And that message...
With my friends.
You're right, with my friends. And that message gets sent to Spinell because it gets sent to everyone, and then she's just like, yo, I've been playing hide and seek with this bitch for 6,000 years and she don't even goddamn exist no more? What the fuck, bro?
So it's all revenge and anger, and like that's what it's revealed to be. But Steven gets through to her. It's okay.
We can decide which one of these things we want to walk into first, but my probably main thing with the movie my main problem with the movie, although it's very good. Just like the one problem that I have, apart from what Keenan's about to talk about, is the sort of time frame here. I just think it would have made a tremendous amount more sense if they had said, "Oh, Steven sent out this message at the end of the last season when he was still 14, and then 2 years have passed." Because this bitch, who was just like a playful kid, like play toy gem, in the span of 2 hours, managed to get 2 super powerful gem weapons, become much stronger and more battle capable than all of the crystal gems combined, and made her way to Earth and set off the whole thing for the show.
No, she didn't become more battle capable. We see later on, the moment the crystal gems are back, they just completely kick her ass. When Spinel first appears, she got the upper hand simply because she sucker punched them when they weren't ready and when they were rusty.
Well, here's the thing that me and Jeff actually talked for a minute before you came on. Here's the thing. They say they're rusty, which, okay, I know that's the throwaway line that we're supposed to go, oh, well, that's why. But here's the thing. It's only been 2 years since they've been establishing peace. They were very battle ready before. They fought a whole war about this. And yet somehow in those 2 years, which, as we know, is a pin drop, a little drop in a large
Well,
pod.
Not just the they're rusty, but they got sucker punched. They didn't see it coming.
Here's the thing: they weren't getting sucker punched initially. She showed up. They started fighting. They were getting their asses kicked, and then she was like, "Oh, by the way, Shwing-ka!" This glowing sight that poofs you.
Well, okay, so here, I think that there's some subjectivity to whether or not A, the gems could be rusty, and B, Spinel could have had, that sort of fighting power in that amount of time, but she did, acquire 2 very dangerous weapons that, hadn't been seen in eons in a couple hours. It's a whole thing that would have been solved just if that message had been sent when he was 14 rather than 16, because 2 years would have been a longer amount. I don't know. It was just such a quick turnaround for me that it seemed like she literally was standing there until a couple hours before she showed up on Earth with this giant weapon in a new form with this scythe and the fucking inject. I don't know. It just seems
Yeah, no, I get you.
It kind of would have just broken the flow of the movie if they just stood still to just talk about, oh, this is how she did this and that. And blah.
Well, we didn't need to know how. What Jeff is saying is that it felt like a very quick pacing, which is I would argue is fine for the purpose of
Sure, I'm just saying
disbelief. But it is something
just,
that if we're nitpicking, I would be like, oh, by the way.
It just seems a problem that was kind of avoidable if they, because I'm not saying keep the movie exactly how it is, but add it in a scene explaining how Spinel got all that shit in a few hours. I just think they should have made it so there was a longer time period between when she found out and when,
it probably is. Look, they disbanded a colonizer. There's probably a few weapons lying around. America just leaves their nukes lying.
You gotta remember, there's, I think, 6 nuclear weapons just missing.
It seems a little Deus Ex Machina, because,
Well, it's in the initial action, so I don't care. Does that make sense?
If all of this shit existed for the entire series, why didn't the Diamonds use a poison injector? Why didn't the Diamonds use this thing to set gems back to their initial thing, right? They put in a throw-in line oh yeah, the Diamonds had these when they wanted to set people back before, but it's but that's never happened before.
What do you mean? They had something similar that they
they had stuff that lets you poof up.
Jasper first came.
Fans, I know we've been throwing around this term poof a lot.
That tuning fork thing, but...
But yeah, so that's my nitpick. We can move on from that, but...
Okay, the real issue I have with this movie, honestly, is I really did like this movie. I thought the songs were pretty good. I didn't super agree with Spinel's backstory, though. And that's just because of an overarching issue I have with Steven Universe in general, as of season 2? I'm not sure when exactly. The seasons were released really funny, so it's hard to tell, in my opinion, when season 2 starts and ends. Yeah. When the season started. Anyway, we went from... There's a very interesting narrative in the character of Rose Quartz, his mom. It starts off as she was this Wonder Woman who fought against Homeworld to free people. And then it quickly as soon as it's revealed that, oh, by the way, Rose Quartz was Pink Diamond, and she faked her death to do this.
Well, I mean, at first there was a whole thing. At first, there was a whole thing where we thought that they were two different people, and Rose Quartz was the one to shatter.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was later revealed that she faked her death, assumed the identity of Rose Quartz. But then it quickly became this whole thing about, hey, actually, Rose Quartz was a criminal and manipulative and like not a good person. And I mean, everything we do comes back to that. Which is like, because like throughout the movie, a lot of the lines in the songs, like Happily Ever After, and actually there's a few lines about how, like, I thought it was, Rose Quartz that helped me, but it was actually me. And it's like, well, that's not really, that's on you, Pearl. There's a bunch of lines about how he'll never stop paying for his mother's crimes, which I argue weren't crimes.
He does. I mean, he does have to deal with a lot of bullshit.
No,
that's kind of passed down from his mother. It's like not unreasonable for him to resent that.
Nope, I'm sorry. They're not. She did nothing wrong, and they're not. It's not her fault that a bunch of colonizers were being colonizers. She asked them to stop. They didn't. So then she gave up her wealth, status, and privilege to then fight a guerrilla warfare against them.
And after the war was over, she spent damn near 6,000 years not letting her friends know who she really was. And also, she never bothered to bring up fucking Spinel. How dare she abandon Spinel?
Okay, but hold on. Let me just step in here and pause, right? Because this is kind of the problem, right? Is that through the writing of the show, there's kind of a more drastic... The problem that Keenan has is that, like, with every new installation of Steven Universe, there's a more drastic insertion that, like, hey, Rose was a bad person. So they add more actions on her that were just, like, horrible things to do. Whereas, like, I understand the initial thing where they're like, hey... Turns out Rose is more of a complex person than we thought her to be. We thought she was this all-knowing, all-loving angel, and it turns out that she had flaws like everyone else. And I'm chill with that. But it's like the whole thing, right? Like, I'm chill with, like, her whole thing. It's like, oh, yeah, she made some choices that weren't the best. Like, choosing to keep her identity a secret. I'm still okay and on board for that. But the whole thing with Spinel is just, like, that... Like, we're just adding more and more actions on her that's just like, oh, yeah, Rose was just a monster, not a flawed person that can be sympathized with, but, like, she did awful things, and they don't talk a lot about the series. It's like, Rose also did a lot of good things, and it was, like, a complex situation.
All right, what I was saying, we went from, like, this white knight who would gradually become this more complex, occasionally gray character. And then we would, like, talk to her about, like, oh, well, actually, she was a lot more complicated than we thought. But instead, we feels like we moved into a completely... Now it's black and white. It's like, we don't even talk about all the good that she did. And I would argue everything that she did, they were hard decisions to make. Like, you say, well, why didn't she tell anyone? Well, anytime anyone brings up the diamonds, it's like they spit at the name and they get really angry.
Yeah, but I never claimed that,
These people weren't chill. And all the other decisions that I would argue, all had, like... pros and cons.
Like, I'd say her main character flaw is that she kept secrets from people to sort of, like, keep them safe, but they're in some of these situations that really shouldn't have been her call to make. And that's kind of the thing is like, oh yeah, that's her flaw, and we can keep coming back to that. But then, like, the thing with Spinel is just like, oh yeah, she found Spinel kind of annoying, so she just left her to rot on this planet for, 6,000 years.
Like, that, she did that before any of the character development happened to her. Like, this was her as spoiled, pampered Pink Diamond, and not as the experienced, better Rose Quartz.
To Pink Diamond getting angry at something. And that would, like, be like, why can't I rule over someone and, like, smash his stuff? And, like, that was our first thing. Like, oh, wow, she was
like, she's a petulant child.
But then literally the next time we see her is her standing with Pearl surveying Earth for the first time and being super nervous and, like, very, I would argue, like, very human. Be like, well, I don't know if I could do this kind of a thing. So we instantly, like, shifted gears on that.
No, it just sounds like different aspects of the same character. Like, she was mad that she was being treated as inferior, and now that she's actually in a position she's like getting nervous that she's gonna fuck it up. It's
So like, when did Pink Diamond have all the time to do bad stuff? Like, we don't have a complex image of her anymore.
No,
we just have this
we
negative.
do. Like, there was that episode where like he has like one of those Steven Vision flashback things where he like sees like where he like experiences like the kind of abuse Rose Quartz went through under the Diamonds, and he's like, I get it. She wasn't perfect, but like I kind of get why she is the way she is. And
then why do we still talk about her the same way?
Well,
because again,
I don't know if we're making a lot of headway on this.
We're not.
Just to shift gears a little bit, I would say my bigger issue with it, right, in the case of the movie, is that it feels like just saying like, oh, Rose Quartz did something either totally bad or morally questionable in the past. We don't need to talk about that, but like the series takes something like the series uses it sort of as a crutch, as saying like, oh, Rose Quartz did this thing in the past, now it's affecting Steven now. Or it's like, it feels like at the end of season 4, we did kind of get past that. I feel like I agree with Chowdhury in this sense that we did sort of at least get some perspectives from both sides on Rose Quartz, and we left her somewhere in the middle. But then by going back to that in the movie, it feels a little odd to bring that up again when I feel like maybe we should have moved on from that by now. So that's my bigger issue with it, but... So he makes this peace with Spinell, and then the movie ends with another misunderstanding where, cleverly, I think they have him still carrying the scythe from the first part of the movie, whereas like, oh yeah, of course he would still have that in his pocket. Like, he hasn't really done anything significant since then. So, and then it falls out of his pocket, and she's just like, yo, motherfucker, are you trying to snuff me out right now? And then they have a big fight, and then eventually. So the whole thing with the series, with the movie, is that like he kind of learns at the end the way to get his own powers back, because his powers were dampened by when he got the scythe cut through him, is that he's got to realize that he can't just live his perfectly happily ever after future. He's got to actually change with the times and adapt the situation. And then we get a sort of epic battle fight scene, and then they make their peace with Spinell. Garnet comes back finally and sings a lovely number, and then the Diamonds come and whisk Spinell away, and we have our sort of not happily ever after, but just like 4 bros living their life again. And that's going to actually continue on to a new season, which like everyone who saw the end of the last season was like, I'm sorry, what? They're doing another season? Because that was like unending.
The last season was like, wow, that's pretty definitive. Wait, there's another season?
Yeah. So that's pretty wild. But now like we've got some stuff that they could potentially have happen, and I'm kind of excited to see the series following 16-year-old Steven a bit more, because one of the things I sort of wanted to talk about is like, do we think that the whole time skip was kind of done well in this? Because
I think it was.
Yeah.
There are some questions though that I would have liked to have been answered, but I understand like maybe why we didn't. Like, right. Frankly, I'm still really, because as I mentioned before, fans, there was a character named Jasper who was, I would once again argue, objectively evil. And then they were corrupted, and at the end, and became like a monster, and then they were bubbled. And at the end of the last season of the show, she's brought back, but it's like, but she sees, like, instantly she sees, the Diamonds and Steven and the Crystal Gems hanging out, and then all of a sudden she's not angry anymore. Which I would argue is real, like, oh, by the way, they're a good guy now. I'm like, no, I really want to see how exactly they're making that transition real quick, and if there is a transition to be had.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of agree with you, Keenan, but we didn't see her in the movie, so it's possible we'll explore some of that stuff in the next season.
I understand why we were focusing on other stuff. I don't know, I'm excited for the time skip. I find time skips can be a really good stuff. We'll have to know more once the show is out, because time skips I find better in, to find out, like, if they've actually been really done well, is to find out through the show, through a longer form story.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like it's kind of a, I guess I shouldn't say it's a running thing, because I only really have one other big example in my head, but it's kind of a thing of when they do a movie for a show that there's a bit of a time skip, just so they can kind of like write their own story without having to be like immediately following the actions of the show. The only other one I'm thinking of that did that was Firefly and Serenity, because like when Firefly got canceled, they eventually did do the movie to wrap it up, but it had been a little while, which gave them an excuse to like have some of the characters in different places and be able to kind of like work off of those themes. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, especially in terms of cartoons, to see time actually pass, because like we have our goofy cartoons where like, characters are like the same age, and then the show runs for 20 years.
Every episode, and yeah, like,
and then also the characters never
like you can keep it in stasis forever,
right?
So
yeah, the cartoons you don't have to worry about. You don't have to go, hey, listen, Jensen Ackles get a little more gritty than he was younger. And why is Jared Padalecki's hair so long? So yeah, no, you can, with cartoons, you'd be like, oh, yep, they're the same as they always were, because I drew it the same way this time, and I've always had my right hand use the pen. So
apparently there was an episode in one of the later seasons of The Fairly Odd Parents where it was revealed that actually Timmy Turner has not just been 10-year-old this entire time, is that he wished for time to stay still, and they've actually been going for like 50 years. And that was like the stupidest, but also like sort of clever solution to that.
That's a meta joke.
But it was like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of, all the I haven't actually seen that episode. I've just heard people talk about it on the internet, and everyone's just like, yo, that's like super fucked up. Are we just brushing past that? But at the end of the day, it's like, it's kind of just an episodic show. Like, the characters are not really supposed to grow over time. So it's just,
I know, it's like
kind of funny, I think. But
it's like that SpongeBob joke where Asper says, why must every 11 minutes of my life be filled with misery? Yeah, but like, no, I think you're right that it is very much used to like, okay, well, 2 years, we have that blank check to play with for anything we want.
Right.
Like, for example, there's a band with Steven's friend Sadie, like all his friends. Well, a lot of his friends. Anyway.
Can I just fucking say? I'm sorry, I'll let you say what you're gonna say, but then I've got a comment on something I forgot about earlier. We see them at the formative. They made a band called Sadie Killer and the Suspects, because her name is Sadie Miller, and it's kind of great. So like in this movie, it's been 2 years, and we established that like they actually do big shows and they're making money, and this is their life. Like they're a successful band. So like, it's cool when you can do that and say, well, I don't want to have another 5 episodes about them getting their start in the music industry. But you can be like, yeah, they're a band now. That happened in those 2 years. And you can go, oh, that makes sense. So, like, there's a bunch of stuff you could do. So that makes sense, right? The gems are like these timeless beings, so obviously they don't really have to age. Steven is aged. We've got a lot of the characters are like...
Connie's older.
Older teenagers. So
they're young
like,
adults.
They don't... Yeah, right. They haven't really visually changed that much, because like the difference between like 18 and 20, I'd gather. But yo, dog, why the fuck is Onion still a baby? What the fuck?
I thought that same thing too. Yeah.
Onion is an evil and moral character,
and also Petey too. Petey was like probably like I would guess 8 or 10. I don't know.
I didn't notice Petey. So what did he look the same?
Oh, that's right, Petey.
I think he was just like pulled away in a scene, so he was like kind of an off shot. And the same thing with Onion, but like Onion's a fucking toddler in the original series, so he should definitely not be.
And then he's 2. That's not a big difference in my opinion. He's still a dumb.
No. He was walking around, which means he was at least like 1.5 years old, and now 3. Like, there's a pretty big difference there.
But here's the thing. We also see his dad, whose name is Yellowtail, and he's a small guy, so it's possible that he's just small.
Yeah,
that's just
fair.
The height he's going to be for the rest of his life. Besides, you have to understand he's an onion, okay? He's not like sour cream.
He's not a real person.
Yeah, he's a small bitter.
All right, no. So I really like Spinell's like old timey cartoon stuff, like the way she's drawn in rubber hose animation, and
a lot of like you can tell famous like, cartoons from that era. Like she's got like shots that are like directly paralleling. You know, like there's the scene where she's like singing her song at the beginning, and she's walking down from the from the fucking lighthouse, and she's doing it was like, that shot looks weird, and then I realized why that shot looked weird, because she's like doing her sort of like walking back and forth singing her song, but it's like this really sort of like weird proportions, but it's like a direct homage to like an earlier cartoon, and maybe you know which, but I don't, but I've seen that clip before.
And the thing is, I think beyond just the crew getting to nerd about their love for old cartoons, it also works into, like, the themes of the character and, like, the arc of her character, you know? Like, you have this character who's, like, all dedicate herself to, like, you know, making people laugh and being funny, and then, like, she is abandoned. And it kind of reflects, like, how cartoons kind of changed. Like, there was a long period of time in animation where, like, you know, all the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and stuff like that were really popular in that they would appear as shorts before every film. But as time went on, that movies just opted to just have trailers before the film, and so that style of animation had to go away, because if you wanted to make something on TV, you needed to do it with a way smaller budget, and and longer, because like there wasn't really the time slot for those, like, you know, minute and a half things anymore. Yeah, exactly, and like, and in a way, it's like we abandoned those old, funny, kind of lighthearted cartoons for something else. So, and like, even if like TV animation has like changed since then, it still requires like a lot of like limited animation. Like, even taking Steven Universe, for example, it uses a lot of like it uses a lot of tricks to like hide the fact that they are using limited frames, but it's still like done on 2s and 3s instead of like old school animation when it's like ones and 2s. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I that's interesting for a character arc, but I also like, just, I don't know. The thing I like about Steven Universe is every so often it lets the sort of animators have a bit of like geeking out, right? And like it kind of reminds me of the one episode like this is where Peridot. This is just 80% them geeking out, 20% thematic resonance. Right, exactly. It sort of reminds me of the one episode where they basically have Peridot and a corrupted gem play Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote in the canyons, and like that entire episode was just like, I don't even care if half of this stuff makes sense or not. It's just like, that's really funny to see, like the animators having a fun time with it. Yeah, and like, one of the final shots of the show, too, right, where, like, Steven, like, it's, like, this big, important moment in like, the last episode of Season 4, and that moment was done in, was hand-drawn, as opposed to all of the, you know, more advanced sort of corner-cutting techniques that we have now, which is, you know, I'm not talking shit on that, obviously. Like, they make a beautiful cartoon by using those things, but it was neat to have that nod to, like, the sort of, you know, homegrown, hand-done animation in there. So, I don't know. It's a thing that I appreciate about the series as a whole. Animated by James Baxter, who did some of the animation. James Baxter! Exactly. He did that. He's like one of those, like, old school veterans. Yeah. So it's neat when we see, you know, his stuff kind of blended into the rest of the stories. Yeah. All right. So I think with that, we're going to be moving on to the ratings section. Thank you guys for an incredibly undivisive discussion in which no arguments were held, placed, and edited out. Now we're going to be moving on to the ratings, where each of us are going to rate the topic on a scale from, oh yeah, that's right, I made this executive decision. We're not doing 1 to 5 anymore, bitches. Now we're doing 1 to 10. Okay.
Yeah, get wrecked. No more you fucking stupid half numbers for me. Now we actually have real numbers.
I'm gonna go 7.5.
You piece of shit. Anyway, so we're gonna be rating it on a scale from 1 to 5. Gosh. Let's... 1 to 10,000 years that Spinel was standing around waiting for the love of her life to come back. So yeah, we'll start off with you, Chatter. What did you think about Steven Universe, the movie?
I would say 9,500. Wait, no. I can't math.
No, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 9,500 years out of 10,000 years.
Gotcha. And what would be your reasoning for that?
I really like the big one is I really like the character Spinel. Like her plight is like very relatable, and like her arc is just heartwarming because like there's that part where like she's like punching Steven and she's like saying easy for you to say when you change, you change for the better. When I changed, I just got worse. Before I wasn't good enough. Now I'm just not good at all. And yeah, that's like a experience that I think a lot of people experience, that's like an experience that a lot of people relate to, and I definitely relate to that. And I don't know, the movie managed to make me cry, which the music's like I said before, the music's great. Independent Together is really fun. Other Friends is just really catchy.
I think my favorite one was probably the Stephen Amethyst number with the be right by your side no matter what.
With Duck of the Night.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. I think
that was a good one. Yeah,
they're all pretty. A lot of
they're
them
all
good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. The animation is great. Like when they go like when they go all out, it's like fucking phenomenal. Yeah. I like Steven Universe, the movie.
I didn't like Steven Universe.
Keenan, what's your hot take?
My hot take, like hot cakes.
Exactly.
I will have to give it. I'm debating between 8 and 9,000 years. Just because I did legitimately find it very entertaining. The music was very well written. That's something that Rebecca Sugar and her crew. I don't want to like give everything to Rebecca Sugar, but that's something they consistently do very well.
Yeah.
They just write good, catchy songs. And while I'm not the biggest fan of like musicals, I do enjoy music in my media. I won't lie.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like with Steven Universe, I like more probably the format where they do a song every once in a while rather than every.
Yeah, because they splice it in pretty well. It doesn't feel like everything's a vehicle to get to the song. Yeah. It feels like, oh, this is the right time for this song. So I enjoyed that. I, like you, had some issues with Spinel's backstory. I just thought it was very, I don't want to say basic, but kind of, not generic, but just very like, oh, okay, well that's what happened, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, I felt like, oh, that sucks, but also it felt like a little uncharacteristic of some of the characters that I didn't 100% agree with. But overall, I thought Spinel was well acted. The voice acting for everyone really was very well done. The writing was there most of the time. Really, the only points I'm taking off, the only 1,000 years I'm taking off is for just like, once again, the paradigm shift of, the portrayal of Rose Quartz, Spinel's backstory, which, like I said, I didn't think was like that good, and like just little nicks and picks here and there that I'm not going to go really deep into. Overall, I thought I was very good, and I'm excited to see where this series will be, because there are still some questions I would like answered, and I was hoping to get at least a glimpse of some of those, at least some of the answers. But it seems like we're not getting there yet. But I'm excited for another season.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I pretty much agree with both of you. I'd probably shoot it up there in the 8 to 9,000 year range. I think I agree with Keenan that I felt Spinel's backstory was a little bit, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite thing, but at the end of the day, like, I understand why some of those decisions were made, even if I would have liked those decisions to be made a little bit better. But overall, that's still kind of a nitpick for me, so I still feel like it was pretty strong as a movie as a whole. And I liked Steven's evolution as a character. I liked being able to, like, you know, he was a happy-go-lucky child for a while, and it was sort of nice to see him, like, being Steven's version of a rebellion teenager, which is still pretty campy compared to the rest of us, but, like, him getting annoyed at, like, the attitudes of the Diamonds I liked a lot. Just because they're like, we're gonna come live with you now. Oh, that's right. We're not supposed to call them lower life forms anymore. And he's just like rolling his eyes, and I'm just like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Because they are trying, and he's like chill with that, but it's like, it's, you know, it's still indicative of some problematic thought processes, and yeah, I don't know. The movie did a lot that I liked. The songs I thought were all pretty good. And like, I feel like it's sort of the case where every time I see Steven Universe sings, where like every time there's a new song, I was like, yeah, that was pretty good. And then I listened to it a dozen times, and I'm like, this is my favorite thing in the fucking world.
I did listen to other friends.
Say, but like, Steven's voice actor, fucking phenomenal singing voice. Like,
yeah, word.
Like the song Change, it's like him just flexing. It's ridiculous.
It's still weird to watch the earlier episodes and be like, that's right, he was a child then. Yeah.
No, it's great, because he had to, like, he aged much faster than Steven did in the show, obviously, because the show went on for a few years, and the whole thing took place within, like, a year and a half or 2 years. So he kind of had to, like, kid down his voice to be appropriate. But now it's like, oh, now we've time skip forward. He can just talk like a human being now. That's for great.
Don't worry about it. He's actually, like, only slightly, you know, fucking younger than us. I think he's, like, 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
21. He's 21.
All right.
Hilarious.
So I think that is going to just about wrap it up for us here at the Common Geeking Program.
That's cool.
Does he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
He did Billy Batson in Justice League War and Superman / Shazam: Return of Black Adam.
Yeah, but like, appropriate casting choice.
Anyway, thank you all for listening to the Common Geeking Program. Again, I've been your forever host, the one and only that will ever... Oh, okay, well, that just sentence didn't come out of my mouth. It's hard to be intimidating when you can't speak 10 words at the time. I've been your host, Jeff Leavitt, and you can find me on, primarily Instagram. I put up some art stuff there. My @tag, whatever.
It's pretty good.
Things I wish existed, and there's a dot between each word. And I've been joined by... Yeah, go for it.
Oh, right. Hi, I'm Taeemul Chowdhury, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter @Taeemul Chowdhury. I have nothing more to say. Be gone, thought.
Wow, shit. Alienating some of our viewers real quick. Hey, what's up? It's me once again, Keenan Kodesch. What's good? You can find me nowhere. I'm only here. Come here and enjoy my voice sometimes.
Alright, so with our new format, we are moving to a monthly basis in which we post on the third Friday of every month. So,
that's 3 Fridays.
Exactly. So the next episode should be airing on the 15th of November. So keep in tune for that. We have not decided what it's about yet. Otherwise, I would say that here. Anyway, thank you all for listening, subscribing, sharing, everything. And we're going to be talking to you. Nope, not next week. I need to change that. That's just a bold-faced lie. Next month. Bye.
Ciao.
Durr.
The Common Geeking Program is hosted by Jeff Leavitt, joined this episode by Taeemul Chowdhury and Keenan Kodesch. This episode is sponsored by laundry. My mom won't stop trying to remind me about that. The podcast is created and produced by Colin, Ketchen, and Jeff Leavitt, and features original music by Colin Ketchen. This episode was edited by me, Taeemul Chowdhury. We'd love for you to stay engaged with us on social media @Geeking Program, or by using #CGP. If you want to know more about us and all of our other projects, head to commongeekingprogram.com. Stay in touch, stay tuned, and always thank you for listening to this. Ciao.
Yeah, no, I never liked the debates. I thought they were really clunky, and I have said this. So yeah, I think it's a much better choice. I'm glad that I was always right. Yes. Are we stopping recording? Oh, I should